Dala, 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 dala. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk to you about another other theme that you had to vote for. That was also that received also quite some votes, and that you showed some interest to listen. And this topic was inspired by several conversations that I had on Facebook several months ago, maybe last year, around this time or spring last year. It was around the conversation was around people having family issues, and oftentimes doing something that I found to be bizarre, where you will call some of your family members as toxic. It's just the notion of qualifying as toxic that I find bizarre. Of course, you have people in your family that may do things that are negative, that may even be harmful physically, emotionally, even spiritually. But calling them toxic is not going to resolve that. It's not going to absolve that, and it's not going to make you feel better in the long term. It may help you feel better in the short term, but it's not going to make you feel better in the long term. And it's not beneficial to you to do that. And I understand that nowadays qualifying anything toxic is kind of trendy. You have toxic masculinity, for one example. But this is to say that family dynamics and your family is probably the only way that you are forced to be connected with people you probably wouldn't choose otherwise. Of course, some of them, if you have a great relationship with your family and all the members in your family, fine, great. But in most families, you always have at least one or two people that you may not get along as much, or that you don't get along with. And when I'm talking about family, I'm not just talking about you and your parents and your siblings. I'm talking about cousins, uncles, extended family, basically your larger family. So it could be cousins twice removed, however you want to call it, however you manage it, but I'm talking about everyone, your extended family included. The people you know are in your family and that you may not even want to see that often. And so it is sometimes important to understand what a family is and the connections that are within the family, which are the people that you on a conscious level didn't choose to interact with. You basically laid in this family, arrived in this family, and you have to deal with all of them as they are, as they have to deal with you as you are. And on a spiritual level, you chose this particular family, your parents, and so on, for the experience that they had to offer you as you grow and develop on this plane. So with this in mind, calling your family member toxic is not gonna, you're not gonna get anything out of it. So for me, it's kind of like, if you're not gonna get anything out of it, might as well, get rid of that habit if it's a habit for you. Might as well not engage in that kind of behavior. And also, you can't escape your family. I've had discussion about this, people going to different places, changing their name, trying to separate themselves from their family, moving away, even working really hard, social mobility, and in some way trying to forget where they come from or what have you. That's all fine and well. You can fool other people in terms of where you're coming from, but you will always be brought back to your family, your biological family, or the family where you were born into and you were raised or what have you, the people who impacted you. Why? Because this is what is inherent. This is why you wouldn't be here without your biological parents. You wouldn't be here without maybe the people who raised you. And some of the ways through which you can see that this bond, this connection cannot be cut, cannot be erased by your individual self, is because those connections were not the one who created them to begin with. And this is another topic I've touched on in a separate video talking about chords. So your familial relationship are not for you to cut, because you were not the one who established them to begin with. Okay, so you can distract yourself and not think about them. You can deactivate them, as some will say, But you cannot erase them and you cannot dissolve them. You not speaking to your parents, your family, or whatever is not going to make anything else disappear. However, it may be a good solution if those individuals are harassing you, causing you harm. It may be a coping mechanism in order for you to keep your sanity and to be able to have some enjoyment of your own experience in your own life. So I'm not saying that this is not a good thing to do. There are times where actually that type of disconnection is appropriate, especially also when the family member or members are physically abusive or emotionally, psychologically abusive. Disconnecting yourself from them could be a good solution. That does not require you calling them names. If you understand the notion, you can disconnect from all of them without having to call them names or without feeding energy into that negative aspects. And so the reason why you cannot disconnect yourself is it's like anytime somebody will ask you where you're from, even if you lie to this person asking you, that will bring you back or straight back to whatever place you're trying to avoid. If people are asking you, do you have brothers and sisters, that will bring you back there. And you even the best of liars, have to distinguish the truth from the lie, because this is how they know they need to lie. Okay, if you didn't need to lie, you wouldn't be making all of this new life up. Okay, so those are ways. And when I'm talking about you cannot disconnect them, it's not the appearance. It's not about what other people think. It's what is going on with you inside. Okay, when you're lying, you're lying. When you are twisting the truth or omitting some things, that you are. We don't need to look at what people believe you are saying or the outer portion of it. What we are looking at is the inner, is you. When you're doing that, you're doing it. When you're doing that, when you're creating stories about the new stories of your birth and the new stories about the family that you have or whatever, when you are doing that, you're doing that. Now for the other aspect of it, I try to not just, every time I'm speaking about something that's negative, I don't just leave you in the blank with something that's negative. I'm going to give you something to think about and something to ponder about from my own tradition. So in my tradition, we have what is called the family gatherer, aka the gatherer. The gatherer is in any family, in most families, you have this person. You may not know who this person is at this time because you may be feeling like your family is toxic and blah blah blah, and you may be feeling like your family is dysfunctional, that people don't understand you or what have you, etc., etc., etc. However, every family has a family gatherer. The family gatherer is the person that holds the family together, the person that bridges the family, the person that reaches out to those who need, or the person that is simply there. So they may not reach out to you, but when you do reach out to them, they provide you guidance, they provide you wisdom, or sometimes all what they have to provide you is compassion. They understand your situation, they are not judging you, they are not pressing upon you, they are fair in their deciding of things, and they are not resentful towards you or the group. And I've done this experiment where I've asked a few people when I've discussed this particular topic and said, who do you think is the gatherer in your family? And as expected, and I've seen this over and over because it wasn't the first time I asked this question in different settings, in different groups, but it's always the same. You have the person that's really quick, the few people who are really quick to raise their hand and say, I'm the family gatherer. And that's also some of the automatic social reflex, where we hear something that sounds good, so we want to categorize ourselves in that because it paints us in a good light. But for most of those people, most of the time, if I were to ask you who listen to this video and say, who do you think is the family gatherer in your family? And I'll just wait. And you type in the comment, me. Fine, great. But for the most part, when I've done this, I've noticed that 99% or 90% of the people who said they are the family gatherer are not. They're not. Family gatherer is not resentful for their position or for the sacrifices that they are required to make. And the family gatherer does not choose to be one. This is not the person that wants to be in the spotlight, that wants to be rewarded for being nice or courteous or fair or wise or the bigger person when things happen. They're not looking for a medal. They are not looking to shine bright in front of everybody, to be the loudest voice in the room. They are not also resentful because they are providing assistance or that other people are coming to them for assistance. The family gatherer or being the family gatherer does not depend on the resources you had available to you, meaning you're not the family gatherer just because you earn the most money in your family and that you provide financial support to other members. It's not with regard to finances, even though the gatherer may have some finances at his or her disposal. The family gatherer is not there to gain emotional gain over other people, manipulate people. The family gatherer doesn't talk behind people's back in a negative way. They may talk about you in order to expose an issue, in order to settle some of the issues going on in the family, but they will not put you down, nor the other person involved. So just by listening to those different items in the room, when I started saying those different things, and I would ask people to put their hand down as they've done those things, or they do those things regularly, we were left with a handful of people from the group, the beginning, the first group, the initial group that said, oh no, I'm the family gatherer in my family. After also, do you speak negatively about other people that came for your assistance? Do you speak bad about them? Do you look down on them? Do you consider yourself wiser or superior to other people because you are the one providing assistance or because they are coming to you for assistance? And all of those times you have to put your hand down. So you come down to see that there are really few people that actually identify themselves that way. And this is important to note because the family gatherer, for the most part, does not even know that he or she is the family gatherer. It's a position that they assume almost against their own will. They see something going on in the family and, instead of being like everybody else, they just walk away and mind their own business. This person is going to be thinking about that family member who was yelled at, how she may be depressed or whatever, and then she will go and give her hand. It may also be another way around where this family member is coming to the family gatherer to expose a situation. And the family gatherer has to look for ways to bring and resolve the issue. And so this is not something that they're looking forward to, because even though their resolution is a great thing, sometimes it has to go through a lot of pain and to a lot of tumult within the family before things are resolved. And the family gatherer is working behind the scenes. It's not a front spotlight person. Meaning that oftentimes no one knows in the family that they are doing so much, that they are giving such a hand, that they are helping out. Most of the time, when they did something great, it's someone else speaking about it. They are not seeking acceptance, they're not seeking awards, they're not seeking reward. They are just doing things because they feel like they have to. Whether you feel like it's bad or it's good, they may not even necessarily agree about getting involved, but they will choose to do the right thing when they are called upon. So as I'm describing this, you may think, well, sounds like a perfect person. I don't have anybody that's like that in my family. No, it's not a perfect person. Just a regular person like you and I. The only difference is that this regular person is oftentimes solicited, is oftentimes witness to certain things, and that despite their own personal flaw, despite their own personal imperfections, they still rise to the occasion each time when it comes to helping another family member, when it comes to providing a shoulder to cry, sometimes just being there and listening. And those things, they will not brag about it to another family member or to somebody else or their friends. They just take it as something that they have to do. Oftentimes, it may even seem to them as a burden. Sometimes it may feel to them as some gratifying actions, and they will understand this is something that comes and goes, just like you. Sometimes you may feel like you are being rewarded. You may feel some internal instant gratification after doing something good. Other times you may feel that doing certain things is basically a burden. So no, you're not looking for somebody who's perfect. This is just a regular person, a regular family member that may have also had made mistakes, had been even committed things that people may not have accepted them for, etc., etc. The only aspect that you may look at is that this person is consistently putting in work. So, the reason why I raised this notion that there is in every family a family gatherer. And yes, I spent a lot of time talking about the family, the extended family, which will also include, if you were adopted, your adoptive parents, their friends. For us in our tradition, your parents' best friend or your uncles and aunt. So they are part of your family. So you're not necessarily, when you're thinking, okay, who's the family gatherer in my family, it's not necessarily just a blood relative. It could be the best friend of your aunt, your best friend and your best friend. The people you can go and talk to that won't have that judgmental corner in their voice. The people you can see, you can sometimes observe them. There's a big clash, everybody's screaming and cursing or whatever, and this person is a person that managed to calm everyone down, or to take away the person that's being yelled at. And it may be in front of everybody, it may be a little bit more discreet. When you see this person feeling better and you say, what happened? Oh, such and such gave me some great advice. Such and such was able to speak to me. The gatherer, the family gatherer, understand that he or she is not perfect. Understand that even though perfection is unattainable, they are still striving towards it, despite making mistakes along the way. They also understand that when someone comes to them for advice, they aim to give the best advice that they have to offer. They are not jumping into playing games, manipulating other people, trying to extort more money or benefiting from what their contribution is. So in every family, there is a family gatherer. And sometimes it takes upon you to just sit back, observe, and reflect, so that wherever you are, you can identify who's the family gatherer in your family. And your role, instead of saying, it's me, it's me, it's me, and screaming loud and clear, your role may be to identify that person and to go and see that person and tell them how much you appreciate their contribution. And ask them maybe what they need. Because also oftentimes they never ask for anything from anyone. They are just being quiet. They help other people out. And they barely ask, even when they need it, they barely ask for help. So when you're listening to this video, take the time to assess who is the family gatherer in your family and see how you can relieve them, either financially, providing resources to them, or even in the simplest way by observing and telling them how much you appreciate the work that they're putting in. I can tell you that in my family, I'm not the family gatherer, but I know who is, and we have actually several of them, which I'm very grateful for. And this is why you don't have to burden yourself in trying to be everything and everyone. Certain things are not your place, so that you can focus on something else. But I certainly know that once you find a gatherer in your family, showing them appreciation is probably going to be unexpected from them, and they will certainly be grateful. And even though some days may be harder than others for them, that gratefulness, that gesture that you may show them, whether it is spending time with them, whether it's just letting them know and taking care of them for once, will be greatly appreciated. So of course, as usual, let me know what you think about this video. If you find it interesting, please do like, share, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified the next time I'll post a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.